Okay. It's 6:30, and I will call to order this July 6th meeting of the Select Board. Let's see, are we on, Tony?
There's a message up there.
Meeting is being recorded.
All right, this meeting is being recorded
Looks like we got it.
for posterity, etc. So let us start out with the Pledge of Allegiance. All those who can stand, do so. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. First on the agenda, public comment on non-agenda items. Mr. Starkey, yes, you are
Thank you.
recognized.
Jim Starkey, 13 Tux Point Road. From the founding documents of the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1641 to the present, the Massachusetts has held the sea and the sea bottom in trust for the public and requires that resources associated be administered in a fair and equitable manner. A couple years ago, the select board decided that fair and equitable didn't work for the really rich. So you set up a second program where people could pay $9,000 and $10,000 a year rental to skip over 270 people on the waiting list who've been there for up to 20 years. Now, while this is morally reprehensible, it does establish what the street value of a mooring in Manchester Harbor is, which is between $9,000 and $10,000 a year. So 5-year amortization, let's say a retail value is somewhere between $45,000 and $50,000. Now, you may ask, what keeps a harbor master honest if he hands out freebies with a retail value of $40,000 to $50,000? And the answer, in theory, is this. The state DEP requires that all moorings be assigned from a written list, a written set of procedures. Second, we have a set of procedures that are very precise. It says that any vacant mooring has to be assigned to somebody suitable boat on the change list. And the third is we have a town bylaw that requires that all mooring transactions be published to a public list, public log. So how has this turned out? Well, not terribly well. I have a couple things for you. One is a list of 14 moorings, 14 people who went straight from the waiting list to inner harbor moorings. Now, these violated our harbor regulations, it violated the DEP regulations that assignments had to be from a written list, and it also cheated 14 people on the change list from getting inner harbor moorings. So I'll give you this one. The second is
Thank you.
a list of 22 inner harbor mooring assignments for boats that somebody will put a bigger boat that wouldn't fit on his mooring, move to another mooring in the harbor. Now, these 22 are also, each one is in violation of mooring regulations. Each one is in violation of the DEP regulation that every assignment be done from a written list. And each one of these 22 cheats 22 people on the change list from getting it in harbor mooring. Next, I have a list of 11 stealth moorings given to Manchester Marine in 2024. I call them stealth because a public record request shows that there was absolutely no communication about these moorings between the Harbor Department and Manchester Marine. So we'll call these Harbor Administration by nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Each of these 11 moorings, stealth moorings, is a violation of our mooring regulation, is a violation of the DEP regulation that everything be assigned from a written procedure. It also cheats 11 people on the change list from inner harbor moorings, and it cheats 11 people on the waiting list for moorings in the outer harbor. And finally, 8 moorings were given to the Crockford Boatyard. I'll just repeat this because it's boring. These were given in 2024. Each of them is in violation of our mooring regulation. Each is in violation of the DEP regulation that every mooring be signed from a written procedure. And these also cheat 8 people on the change list from an inner moored harbor, and it cheats 8 people on the waiting list for a moorer in the outer harbor. So we get to the third leg of what keeps the harbor master honest, and that is the transaction log. From the beginning, Bion has refused to do that. He's got a lot to cover up for. And he refuses to do it, and that is reprehensible because it's the law. He should be referred for prosecution for refusing to obey a town law. One last thing before I shut up and leave you with your deliberations, and that is, when Bion gave me the notice that he was going to revoke my mooring permit, he offered to set up a meeting with him. And I thought this was a little bit unusual because his cover story was that, in fact, in 1941, it was the harbor master who screwed up and not me. But then I thought of it a little bit more. And, you know, I'm from Chicago, and I kind of understand when somebody wants to have a meeting like this, and that is, the agenda is essentially it's going to be, you know, Jim, this is a pretty nice mooring that you've got here. It'd be a real shame if something happened to it. Maybe you want to think about shutting your yap up. Well, I have, and I'm not going to shut my yap up. Harbor master is not honest. He is not following rules. He is making rules.
Zach, I think we're done now. Okay, you've gone
Oh,
over
okay,
your 2
sir.
minutes, okay? And once you start disparaging a member of the town staff, I'm done listening.
It's all right, that's no disparaging of the various people. Once you start making accusations, that's in a separate category. Thank you for your comments.
Mr. Chairman, if I might
Yes.
just through you to the board and for the public watching, a lot of the comments made have been inquired through my office, and from me to the harbor master, we've looked into a lot of these claims. I feel that we've given response to those claims. Mr. Starkey or any resident has the right to ask a question, or if he thinks there's something of concerning matter, to bring that to my attention or the harbor master's attention, and we'll take a look at it and review it. And we've not found any substantiating evidence to the claims that were just made or the ones that have been submitted to us. But we will continue to look through anything that's brought to our attention, and it's my opinion that the harbor master has been honest, has been responsive, and has been doing his job properly.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Mr. Barletta. We've got 4 sheets of paper here, and you
Mr.
may
Chair?
take a look through them at appropriate time. Yes.
Yes, I want to state that I have also met with the harbor master, and though I have absolutely no evidence of wrongdoing, I agree with Mr. Starkey that the bylaw calls for a publishing of transactions. And I have met with the harbor master, when I look on the website, I still don't see that. So I have no evidence of wrongdoing, but I think honestly, one way to put this to bed is to publish transactions, not the result of the transactions.
Which is published now.
Which is published now, but the actual transactions, adds, moves, changes, removals. That is a transaction, and if those were published, I really think a lot of this discussion would go away.
That information was added to the mooring list earlier this year.
Good, I will take a look at it, thank you.
It's published outside the harbor master's office. I agree, the website.
So it's not online,
The
okay,
website needs to be updated with the updated information.
great,
Okay.
thank
And
you. I will
that
take a look at
information
that.
exists, it's just not,
It's not on the website, okay, thank you.
and I don't know to what extent it's in a spreadsheet such that it's convenient to do so, because there are literally hundreds of those types of transactions. So I don't know how practical that is. But we'll take a look at this information and see what is new, and we can react. Other public comments on non-agenda items. I have a couple. And one is, I would like to read a commendation for the public safety and town departments for July 3rd and 4th. And the select board wants to commend our public safety personnel Police, Fire, and Harbor, as well as the Parks and Rec and the DPW for their leadership throughout the July 3rd and July 4th events, from the boat parade to the street parade to the fireworks and everything in between. The extreme heat created an even greater demand on our resources and their resourcefulness. The high level of planning, preparation, staffing, and coordination was evident throughout all the events. Often, it's only when things return to normal that we think back and realize the effort that it takes to make things go so smoothly. And from the perspective of the many participants, things did go smoothly. These are significant, heavily attended events. This year, the added challenge of the parade and fireworks taking place on a weekend created an even greater demand on public safety resources. Everyone involved should be proud of the work they did over these challenging couple of days. We on the Select Board certainly are. So the Select Board and the Manchester community commend you, Public Safety, and the town departments of DPW and Parks and Rec, and we thank you. So we'll put that in the record. The other thing I'd like to comment about is the parade. The Select Board was in the parade, and it worked out well. Ryan, I say, had to take a seat about 2/3 of the way
My back
through.
was hurting. It had nothing to do with the heat, it was my back.
But we gave away 30 pounds of candy. It was the exact amount.
Good.
We gave away 1,500 flags.
1,500 flags.
We wound up with about 25 or 30 extras, so I'd say
And
that's,
you had some left over from last year?
we had about 50 left over from last year, so I'd say this
Yeah.
is a good number. And I think I know I got to the finish line. I don't think I saw you.
I have not finished the parade yet, and I didn't plan on doing it today. I get to Beach Street and I turn around, that's a long hill, that's a hill.
And Jeff, I think you, did you make it? I'm
Yeah,
trying to remember.
I
Yeah, I
made
think
it.
you did. I
Barely.
think I saw you there. Okay, great. So I want to thank you all for,
Me.
Huh?
You were further behind me than me.
Well, because people want to talk to you,
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
like, you know.
right.
And then just to that point, I think that John really did a great job. He was running.
Yeah.
He was running to keep up with things, and I just,
It was hot.
see you later.
Okay. Well, thank you. The next on the list are action and task items on our action list. Anything anyone has to say in that regard? To add, subtract, or comment on? Okay, I think we're set with that. The next event is the National Grid hearing, and I will look to a motion from Ms. Harris.
I move that the Select Board open the public hearing on the National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. petition WR#312-24720 for the installation of one joint-owned pole on Harbor Street.
Second.
Any further discussion? None? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
Ann? Kathy?
Yes.
And John says yes. Okay. National Grid. Thank you.
Savita Mahaber Sheehy, representing National Grid, 44 River Street, Beverly, Massachusetts. This is an inline pole for an antenna going in the area.
What is the antenna for?
Cellular.
Cellular.
Is this a new pole or just something that it's being replaced as an old?
new pole.
Okay.
It's a joint pole if you're reading.
Yeah, it's not a joint part.
Is,
Joint
is this a really tall pole, or is this, just a regular pole?
It's a regular pole.
Okay.
And it will have antennas only for Verizon.
It could have others, or the antenna could be used by others. I don't know what that contracting between them is. This is just for our pole, for them to put their antenna on.
Okay. Any further questions?
We done, all set?
I think we are set.
I move
Well,
the
any
select-
questions from the public? Tony?
I don't see anything online.
Okay. All right. Mr. Solomon.
I move that the select board close the evidentiary portion of the hearing.
Second,
Okay. Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes,
Kathy,
Yes.
me, yes. Okay. Ms. Bellata.
I move that the select board approve National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc. petition WR 31224720 for the installation of one joint-owned pole on Harbor Street as shown on the provided plan.
Second,
Okay.
We're getting spammed,
Oh,
oh, that's a problem.
but you can continue.
okay, all right. Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes,
Kathy,
Yes.
and me, yes. Okay, all right. Now, I move that the board close the public hearing.
Second.
Kathy?
Yes.
I'm just keeping your toe on your toes. that's all. Ann,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
and me, yes. Okay. All right, the motion carries that it is closed. So I think we're set.
You're all set,
You're
thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I assume we have to wait for Chuck on the drop.
Yes, and is Chuck somewhere up there?
He was calling it, he had to participate remotely, so let me just get back on the Zoom.
Okay. The next topic is the drought level update, and he's in the middle of that.
I assume he's an integral component of this
Would you
conversation.
like to do liaison updates or something?
It depends how fast Tony's running.
Yeah, you could do liaison updates.
Okay,
as they
so
catch
so we
up.
will do that. You would suggest it, you may kick
Oh,
off the
okay.
liaison updates. Thank you.
All right, so Facilities Planning Committee met last week, and we will be.
Recording in progress.
We will be coming forward with some recommendations to refine the charter with two primary changes. One is there'll be some clarification on which projects we will and will not engage with, or at least a going-in position. And secondly, to your suggestion, Ann, adding kind of a post-mortem review for completed projects. So I expect to see that at the next meeting. We meet every other week now on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. And also in the facilities planning, we had a little bit more information on the senior community center. The information was presented, the information from the recent public forum was presented to the facilities planning committee. There was a lot of conversation, members were poking at the kitchen design. So there was some sort of change from the original kitchen design. It seemed to have expanded and may drive some significant costs. So there were a couple of members who were questioning the design and asked that it be reviewed with the health inspector and test the need for this updated design so we don't incur any unneeded cost. And specifically, we're going to be asking the question, if we didn't go with this new design, what would we not be able to do? What's the real benefit? So that was that. And then at the end of the meeting, I mentioned that the town of Marion, we're always looking for comparable towns to compare how they do things. And I stumbled upon the town of Marion, which is in the South Shore. Similar population, seaside town like us. They seem to have, are nearing completion on a DPW building for $6 million. So curious as to how they did that. So I sent the information to Chuck and the committee, and they're gonna take a look at that. Don't know if it's something, there are lessons there that we can leverage, but at that price tag, we ought to take a look at least, see what's going on. That's it.
Great. Thank you. Are we up? Do you want to keep going with the liaisons, or are we,
We're back up.
we're back? All right, we will hold off on the rest of them until appropriate time. Okay, the next item is the drought level update. And that's either you, Tony, and or Chuck.
Yep, Chuck, are you, can you come off mute? There he is.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes. So
Yep.
Chuck, I'll just start us off. We're still considered, our region is still considered a level 3 critical drought by the state. As you are aware, we put in a water ban about a little bit more than a week ago, largely because of the pump at Lincoln Street Well needing to be replaced. So because of that, 60%, 40% of the town that is served out of Lincoln Street Well is now being served, everybody's being served off of Gravelly Pond, and we were having trouble keeping up with the demand of the water usage. So that ban has helped. We still feel that, Gravelly Pond, as far as capacity goes, is at good levels. And I'll let Chuck talk a little bit more about the pump issue at Lincoln Street Well. My recommendation is that we continue to keep that ban in place because the pump is not installed yet, the new pump, and we're still in a level 3 critical drought.
Okay.
Chuck?
Yep, so I'll just add that I did get an update on the pump. It is being still in shipping. They said we would have it by the end of the week. And we said that we would, if they could have a crew available to install it when it gets, on site, that would be great. So I'm hoping Friday at the latest, certainly by next Monday, even if they had to work over the weekend, they would install it. So that's the plan right now for the pump. I think I sent you an email, Tony, but the drought task force at the state level will be meeting on Wednesday, so they won't possibly update that until Wednesday, the state anyway. I think it's highly unlikely, even the rain that's forecast tonight and tomorrow, that they'll kind of change that drought declaration, but we won't know officially until sometime after Wednesday anyway.
Okay, all right, so you'll know more. This is kind of day to day, but the pump will show up in the next few days. We're still in the ban, and we had a discussion with regard to what we're gonna do about the ban, because from a water perspective, we aren't under the same stress, I guess, as the rest of the state is. But because we're down a pump, it's essentially created a problem for us. But we can get an update from you, Chuck, 2 weeks from now?
For sure.
Okay, plan on it. Any other questions?
I imagine Lincoln Street Well is in pretty good shape then.
Yeah,
The silver lining for sure is that once we get it back online, the yield should be looking very, very good for the duration of the summer.
right.
When we discussed this most recently, there was concern that this was a time of year when people were starting gardens, and that since our water resources were in fact in good shape, that we, as Water and Sewer Commission, that we decided not to declare, not to enforce a watering ban. And when the pump comes on and we have lots of water in the well and Gravelly Pond is in fine shape, I don't see why we should change our mind.
Yeah, I agree with
I
that.
was gonna say, I think I agree, can we,
So I think the communication that I saw indicated that people were allowed to use drip irrigation or hand water after, is it 8
Between
PM?
5 and 8 in the morning.
Yes, so people can water their
Hand watering
plantings,
is.
hand watering. It's the sprinklers and the lawns and that kind of stuff that was not
Right.
allowed under the ban.
Right,
So
and
the
that's,
partial
and that's our version of a water ban. It's
Right.
not technically compliant with the water ban that
Mm-hmm.
DEP requires us to put in when we go into a level 3 critical drought. So it's a little bit more friendly to, the scenario that you were just talking about. So we tried to go with something a little bit less intrusive.
Could we get some data, some facts, like what was the water usage before we instituted the friendly ban? And what's the water usage been like? Like how much did it get reduced?
Yeah, we can
It would
give
be,
you.
now that you have the water meters and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
for the water meters that are
Yeah.
installed, we
Yeah.
have a good set of data there that we're monitoring that as well as the levels in the tank. Even it wasn't that Gravelly Pond didn't have the resource available, it was just that the tank gets pumped, to keep up with demand. And our concern was that if we didn't reduce that demand on the system and we had some sort of public emergency, you know, that you wanna make sure that the fire hydrants are gonna be
Mhm.
fully supported, so.
I'm certainly not arguing that we shouldn't keep a restriction until the pump is in place. But the situation,
I think, I agree with Ann that once we know and DPW signs off that the pump is working and we're all on all cylinders, can we revert back to pre-failure discussions?
We definitely, we absolutely can, I just, you know, we'll note that we'll have to notify the DEP
Mhm.
that the ban is coming off. I don't know how to
Well, I
respond, but we
think
can
what
deal
Brian
with
is
that
advocating
when
for is a discussion, and I agree with that. I'm just looking for data before we make a final decision. And you, I think you
Yeah,
have the data.
So odds are the new pump will be installed and operating before our
The next
next
meeting,
meeting.
right.
So if you want to just leave it in place until we next meet, or whether you want us to make a decision, you know, to pull it off
us
once.
means,
Yeah, okay, collectively. Chuck, when that pump goes online, that is an event. Are you obligated to communicate with the DEP about that event?
I think not
And
like
then what's-
officially, our typical practice would be to, notify the people at DEP that, because we did the same when the well went down. So like we put them kind of on notice that, we're having an issue with our pump, we're gonna get it fixed, and we'll let them know when we get it fixed. So that would be that part. There's also a separate item where you institute a ban of any kind, that you notify DEP about that ban. So it's sort of like one is like a very generic email that gets sent to, at DEP.com, where there's another one that's, sending it to a person so they understand what's going on. And so that's the difference between the two kind of notifications there. So we would, if we lift the ban completely, then I would send that formal, notification to that address where they're kind of tracking those bans.
And maybe they see it, maybe they don't, because they're communicating with, well, hundreds of towns.
Right.
Okay. All right.
So is there any harm in leaving it in place for a week to monitor the situation, making sure the pump is working the way it's supposed to? And then at our meeting on the 20th, address
Address the
with facts and data, here's what the situation is, and make a decision.
So our current friendly ban isn't within DEP regulations anyway, is what you're saying, right?
Correct.
Well, I mean, the form that I fill out is still formal, like it doesn't say, it doesn't have every last level of detail in the form. It's like, it's instituting a non-essential outdoor ban. So that's the difference. I mean, it's not like, I don't know how to, I can show you guys the form if you want, but there's a lot of kind of nuance there in the form.
Right, I mean, we're not, the non-essential, we're not we're not allowing people to wash the sidewalks or whatever, that kind of stuff.
well, washing,
For cars.
I can certainly say that washing boats is still going on.
Right, washing boats, but
And that's important if you're taking a
Yes.
boat
Yeah.
from between freshwater and
Right.
saltwater.
Okay.
people cleaning their decks and that kind of stuff, can that wait until the 20th?
I think so, and by then, the state may have made a change to the drought designation, so if that's,
Well, I think we definitely should revisit this next meeting.
Yeah.
At least.
By that time, we'll have the data, plus we will know if the pump is in place and doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Sarah has her hand up. Sarah Mellish.
Sarah? Yes. Sarah?
Yes, I think what you need to take into consideration is that, for instance, I have irrigation systems that are older and are not drip, but they are solely watering shrubbery and vegetables. And to put a ban on that watering is decimating my landscaping, and perhaps if you're gonna restrict irrigation systems, you could say irrigation systems for the purpose of watering lawns. And not just assume that the only use of drip is for shrubbery. Because it's crazy if we have enough water to restrict the watering of shrubs and vegetables and I'm dealing with a quarter acre of landscaping, and I cannot hand water.
I think that's the implication with the policy, the way people interpret that right now.
Right.
That,
And I was just, like, that kind of goes to the point, like, that these type of nuances are not in the form that I fill out, and they're not kind of in our, nobody's policing this at this level, so like, I mean, I think we're spending a lot of time on something that's not really, you know, it's not the point. The point is certainly more to what Sarah's saying, you know, we're not looking to irrigate, you know, acres of lawn. Like that is certainly not in the spirit of our ban. But we're not also writing down every last, you know, for instance, to go out and police it either.
okay. All right. We will return on the 20th.
So you're saying we'll just ignore our regulations and let people do anything with watering lawns?
Not with watering lawns, but with the other.
No, but I think the ban, as it's stated, allows people to do the slow drip watering, whatever, within certain hours. So, you know, I have landscaping too, we shouldn't be doing that at noontime, you know, because it's just a waste of water, it just evaporates. So I think the ban we have in place allows certain watering, but in certain hours where it makes sense and we're not
Okay,
wasting
I
water.
think we allow hand watering,
And watering,
and that doesn't address Sarah's problem.
Well, she's got soaker hoses or something like
No,
that.
she doesn't, she has sprinklers.
That are in the garden areas. Okay, all right. But that's not on the lawns, which cover
But
hundreds of.
we're currently not
square
allowing
foot.
sprinklers.
Well, I think we have to address this. She has sprinklers, but whenever you say sprinklers, you're thinking sprinkling a lawn as opposed to sprinkling a garden.
so I think this is where the data might be helpful, maybe Chuck can help us, maybe it's, now that we
I
have
mean,
the
I can
meters.
give you the anecdotal, like, but again, like, I'm not able to parse if somebody is using it in the same fashion Sarah is versus, you know, irrigating. I mean, certainly you can tell the lawn waterers in the new system, but
Lawn
like,
water is
if you just wanna know, like, the demand, you know, the treatment plant is pumping a certain capacity every day, you know, pre the ban, during the ban, during the, you know, when the well went down ban, and then, you know, and then today, and then I'll say, even over the weekend, we kind of ticked back up into the, you know, this is definitely beyond, but it was also 100 degrees, and, you know, 4th of July, the population of town went up probably double. So like, you know, like, these are things that happen on a, you know, from time to time, and we just have to go with it, but there's nothing more we can do except message, like, don't be wasted, you know?
Yeah, so the data, for instance, you know, looking at the meter data, it shows you usage. And so
Yeah.
it's easy to identify automated irrigation systems because you'll see, you know,
They come on the same time every
1,000
day.
gallons
Right.
3 times a day.
Right.
You know, so odds are it's not someone hand watering. So that and that was a driving force of, you know, us not being able to keep up with demand. So I will say it seemed like the residents, you know, responded well, and we were able to start keeping up with the demand in the tank.
Right, we definitely were, and we were able to maintain it, you know, throughout, and so like, you know, that was the point of what we did and what we were looking to achieve.
All right, we'll provide that data
Yep.
and we'll return to this on the 20th.
So that goes on the actions.
It goes, yeah, it'll be scheduled. Okay, fiscal year 27 appointments. Tony.
Okay. One moment. We have a number of appointments today. As you know, we're going through a couple different categories of appointments. Today, these are reappointments for fiscal year 27, which includes 2-year terms for the Affordable Housing Trust, reappointing Sarah Melish and Muffin Driscoll, 3-year terms in the Bike and Ped Committee. the Board of Assessors, the Board of Registrars, the CPC, the Concom, Council on Aging, Historical Commission, Manchester Coastal Stream Team, and MBTA Advisory Board. There are 3 new volunteers that are with us tonight that I'd like to tell you a little bit about. Again, I've been meeting with all these volunteers that have put their name in to join a committee. I'll start with Sean Adams, who is being recommended for appointment to the Sustainability Committee. Sean and I met in early June. Very interested in joining the Sustainability Committee. Hasn't had any prior municipal committee experience. However, has been an employee of a resource group looking specifically at sustainability. He's participated in the last 3 sustainability meetings, so doing his homework and understanding what their priorities and charge is. With 3 kids at home, they're very interested in composting and beach cleaning and promoting the communication of sustainability. We talked about how we accomplish those things and the importance of those items to our coastal community. Moved into town about a year ago, originally from Nevada, and actually was living out in California when they dealt with the fires, and that was a key moment where they decided to move to the East Coast. And we're connected through a friend to Manchester by the Sea, and Sean spoke about how that experience, really motivated him to get involved in this area. Is perfectly fine with the demand of the committee and being able to attend meetings. And as always, we talked about the open meeting law and understanding the charge of the committee and conflict of interest law and those types of things. So, Sean, are you online? Okay, Sean, do you want to introduce yourself, say a little bit more?
Yeah, sure. Thank you for the intro. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So yeah, as Tony said, I moved here from California about a year ago. Sustainability has always been something that I've been passionate about. Primarily within my workplaces, I ran the employee resource groups for North America at multiple companies with the focus on sustainability. So yeah, I'm very excited to work with the town and for the town on different ways that we can maintain our sustainability efforts and continue to move that forward. So thanks for having me tonight. I appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Any comments, questions from the panel?
No, thank you very much for volunteering.
Yes, it is.
No, thank you. We'd love to
Especially
have
as
it.
a new employee, a
new
new resident.
Yes, thank you for getting involved.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'll go with Ellen Flatley, who is looking to join the Parks and Recreation Committee. Born and raised in Manchester, had worked at the beach in college, was a seasonal employee for us with the Parks and Rec department. She participated in a lot of the Parks and Rec programs as a kid, and she spoke a lot about her affinity for the spaces here in Manchester and the programs that we offer, serves on the 4th of July Advisory Board. Her professional experience was very impressive and honestly couldn't have been more ideal for the Parks and Rec Committee. She's worked in tourism for 20 years, specifically in attractions and sales and marketing. Worked at the Intrepid Space Museum in New York, lived there for 11 years, primarily managing, planning, and overseeing the overnight program with the Boy Scouts. And if you didn't know, that's an aircraft carrier in the Hudson River. She then worked at the 9/11 Museum in New York, and really high standard of operating procedures and heavily involved in the elements of that. Currently, I believe, still works for an attraction company and also had experience with TripAdvisor, overseeing Eastern Canada attractions and Europe companies as well. Again, generational family here in town. Her father and her aunt served as town council for the town in the past, and her grandfather was moderator in the 50s. Comfortable with the demand of the committee, able to attend all the meetings, and again, we spoke a lot about open meeting law and the charge of the committee and things of that nature. Ellen, would you like to add anything to that?
What he said.
Did I do okay?
Yeah, you did okay. Yeah, so I'm Ellen Flatley. I was on the 4th of July advisory board, so I'm in recovery mode a little bit. So, but yeah, no, I've been sort of bred into me to give back to the community, so it's my turn. So I think given my professional experience, Parks and Rec is a really good fit. I work really well with Cheryl. We've worked really closely together for the last 2 4th of Julys. And she recommended that encouraged me to apply, so I look forward to serving if you want me.
And this is your second bite of the apple.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
And it was impressive even 2 years ago.
Yeah, so not much has changed, but I have got through 2 4th of Julys now and know a little bit more about how things work.
Well, thank you for coming back.
Yeah.
Yes.
For another round, appreciate it.
You know all the players now.
Yeah.
And she still came back.
Yeah.
Yeah, right, so that's something.
Thank you.
That's great, wonderful, glad that you can devote the time to that.
Yes.
Great, thank you.
And Kevin O'Mara, who's a new member for the Historical Commission, is here. We met earlier this month as well. Moved into Manchester 16 years ago. Lives right next to the district, the historic district, but not actually in it. However, manages his home with an emphasis of, protecting the historic nature of that property, and has been really involved with the Historic Commission, has attended multiple meetings, has no prior experience with local boards, but he's got the, through our conversation with his experience attending the meetings and the folks on the Historic Commission, knowing them and understanding how it works, I feel he has familiar enough that he'll catch up to speed really quickly. Again, no problem with the demand of the committee. He's spoke with Rosemary. He's familiar with the items that are in front of the commission, and works remotely in Burlington, so able to attend the meetings in person if need be. Kevin?
Hello. Yes, so I moved to town 16 years ago. Prior to that, I actually had an apartment here before that. So, love the downtown area and love, the work that people have been doing to try to make sure that the historic nature of it is preserved. As Tony mentioned, I bought a house that needed to be restored, and so I tried to maintain that historic, didn't change a lot of things in the front, how I did it. So I'm looking forward to serving and doing my part to continue with that role. So thank you, thanks.
Thank you for raising your hand, appreciate it.
Any further questions here? You'll have a front row seat on the Sawmill Brook project, I can see that. For sure, but Blackmore's Court. Strangely up, the historic district just goes along Central Street, Washington Street. Just the houses on the street, does not go up any of the side streets really at all, kind of a strange. I know that
I did go to the museum to try to get some of the history of my house and some of the other houses on the street there, but yeah, that was interesting.
I give you credit for that, to see what it looked like about 150 years ago,
Yeah.
however.
Well, my house started as a boarding house.
Okay.
Oh.
Great. Any other questions here from,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you.
And I have one more too, I'm
Yep.
sorry, I missed one.
Yeah.
Kobe Faringo, new member for the Bike and Ped Committee. Grew up in Brookline, just moved to Manchester by the Sea. Kobe and his girlfriend Kara moved to Manchester by the Sea not that long ago and immediately participated in a beach cleanup, have been attending public events, and paying attention to what's happening in municipal government. Both have requested to be appointed to committees. So I found that exciting that, you know, they want to get involved with the community immediately. Worked for the Brookline Teen Center. He was a board member in high school. He's spoken with the Bike and Ped Committee already and good with understanding with what their charge is and the demand that comes with that committee. Was a bike mechanic in P-Town during COVID. Is an avid cyclist. His professional experience involves being a mechanical engineer with the U.S. Navy and currently works for a airborne mechanical engineer for another airborne private company. Very eager to get involved, happy to meet the demand of the committee, and we talked again about open meeting law and the importance of that, and all of the members, especially new members, you know, when they get sworn in, they're provided links to trainings on conflict of interest and open meeting law. So we talk a little bit about it, but they get the formal training once sworn in.
Great.
Kobe?
I'm Colby.
Hey.
I moved here about 2 months ago.
Wow,
Woo.
awesome, get right involved, excellent.
One of the big things that attracted me to move here was the beach, of course, and the trail network that is here. I love to get lost in those on my bike. Eager to get involved, as Tony said, with the community and learn about how we plan bike infrastructure and regulation. Special thing, the day after I moved to the town, I was going to get gas at 7 in the morning and I saw some 10-year-olds riding their bike around downtown. It's a special place that kids are just free to ride their bikes around safely. I'd love to be a part of a community that makes it happen.
Excellent, thank you so
Great,
much
great.
for raising your hand so soon.
So that's all right.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know how many folks you know, but you're gonna increase that number pretty quickly.
Yeah, the folks on that committee, Terry Kalman, he'll introduce you to everybody.
Terry knows everybody.
I've been on the rides that you organize.
Oh, yeah, yes,
Yeah.
every Sunday mornings and other times too. Questions, comments from the panel?
Yeah, welcome to town and welcome aboard.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Colby. Well, this is great, Tony. We've got 4 folks that are new to the system, and it's great to get more and more different people involved.
Excellent.
Ready for a motion?
Yes.
I move the select board appoint the various individuals listed on the appointment list to the respective boards and committees for the terms indicated thereon.
Second,
Further discussion? Kathy?
yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Jeff?
Yes.
John is yes. Great. You're all official.
You don't have to hang around for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to, but if you're interested and want to stay. Or escape while you can, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, go Team USA.
Okay.
Right. Thank you very much. Great. All right. Building and trash fees. Who's dealing with that? Let's see.
Tony, is that on your?
Let's see. So Tony, I guess we just need to have a discussion on this.
We published these changes about a month ago, these specific changes to the building permit fees and the trash bag fees. Provided the data that we had received regarding the building permit fees. We requested comments from the public. I think you received some of those comments. We didn't get
3 or 4.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot, but I would think that maybe we talk a little bit more about the trash bag proposal.
Or maybe not talk about it at all.
Well,
Well, you still
we're
need it.
voting on as far as voting on whether to approve the increase, and we'll talk about the trash contract in a moment. But I do think, you know, especially the fact that things are moving faster than expected now with conversion to automated, it presents itself as an opportunity to maybe put a hold on increasing the trash bag fee and kind of coming back to it as we go through the process of
Figuring out how we're going to pay.
how we're gonna do trash.
Comprehensive approach, yeah.
And prior to this past week, you know, our plan was that we knew automated collection was coming. And our plan was to do that methodically over the next year and really talk through how that conversion was gonna occur and get public input on that. Now it's happening faster than expected, and that changes a little bit as to the reasoning, you know, why we were making this trash bag fee change. So I do think we revisit it, but if you know, I might suggest that we could kind of put a hold on that change for now.
Yes, things will be kind of resolved one way or another within the next 2 months. So, I mean, I'll hold until, all right, here's the picture. And are they going away? Are they going away a lot, a little? We don't know. We got some good ideas, but we don't know just yet. So that's a reasonable thing, because it really is all integrated with all of
Yeah,
the
I think
decisions.
that, given the timing, that, you wanna add insult to injury.
Well, it's just that, you know, everything's in flux. You don't want to institute a change that might only be good for 2 months and then do another, you know. We still got to figure out how we're going to deal with the transfer station if people want to bring trash there. So I think it makes sense to put a hold on the trash bag fee increases until we figure out a comprehensive approach.
Right, I think all of the comments were about the bags, weren't they?
I understand.
Yeah.
I think they were.
Pretty much.
Secondary market, by a lot of people who bought a lot of trash bags.
Yeah, I wonder if we should do something to suggest to people that this is a bad time to buy trash bags,
In bulk.
either in bulk or at all.
Well, I mean, they may need them in the short
Well, I mean,
run.
I think it's important
Take
that
to the
people
transfer
understand
station.
that trash bags still have a use.
What's their use?
And so that's been a question.
But for the,
You can
Transfer
put
station.
all the trash bags in one trash bag and throw them out. But I think that, I mean, that question I've seen on social media, I was asked, you know, what am I gonna do with all my trash bags? Well, you know, you're gonna need them if you still plan on going to the transfer
So
station.
I think we just want to put this conversation on hold.
yeah, where was this
Yeah, I would hold
publicized?
off.
Where did these people read that the number was going up? And it was going up as of what, July 1, I guess? Was that
The
there?
trash bag fees?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
we
we-
send out communications. Yeah.
That was a communication
Yeah.
during the regular,
In the Tide, it was on
It was in the
social
Tide, okay.
media.
all right, okay. So,
And on the website.
the Tide is weekly, we need to put probably something in there, so, because people are still expecting that to happen, and right now, has it happened? Or not? It's
No.
an
We haven't
anticipation.
No, because
No, we haven't approved these.
No, they just saw that this was
Yeah.
happening. I think we need to put another comment in the Tide to the effect that this is
On-
tabled on hold pending discussion of the rest of the whole trash situation. Okay, so if you could have Tiffany do that, that would be good.
everything else, but I'm good.
Okay, the rest of them, I think we had a short discussion on that either a month ago or 2 weeks ago.
And these are in keeping with local, so,
Yeah.
and we're still not at the high end
Yeah.
at that point.
Right.
Did you tell me, I think I did ask, I want to know how much money we got out of the building permits relative to total dollars on permits, fees, licenses.
So in going from 2021 to 2025, and 2021 was a little bit of a weird, it was an anomaly because of COVID and the change to the market. But in 2021, our total building, electrical, gas, and plumbing revenues for permits was a little bit more than $252,000. In 2022, a little bit more than $302,000. in 2023, 353,000. In 2024, 430,000, and in 2025, 387,000.
All right, and we're increasing this by 67%. Yes, So-
That might be the, I
yeah.
trust your math.
Well, Dean already did.
And so I'm just gonna round it off and say we're around $400,000, and so 67% is what, 267,000. So that will go from 400 to 670, more or less straight line.
Depending on how many permits are full.
That's correct, I just rounded off baseline of about 400 or so, okay.
Yeah, through the 30-plus communities that we looked at, the average rate was $11.07 per thousand.
Is it 30 communities?
36, I think.
Okay. Is it largely northeast Massachusetts, or was it scattered?
It was all about. It was Beverly, Chelsea, Saugus, Danvers, Canton, Marblehead, North Reading, Swampscott, Nantucket, Linfield, Georgetown, Boxford, Hamilton, Rockport, Chatham, Orleans, us,
I
Wenham.
mean, like a little bit
Yeah,
far-reaching,
that's-
but pretty much a lot of
Yeah,
people.
the
East of
outreach ones
Worcester.
are all coastal.
Yeah, yeah, the outreach ones to make sure they're doing the coastal.
The highest was $15.30. The lowest was $5, and we have been at $6.
Okay. This does not seem like a crazy number to me.
No, I'm good with all of that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And the electrical's going from 3 to 5, based upon,
It's always been half the rate of the building permit fee.
okay,
Okay.
okay. All right. Other questions or comments on building/electrical? Plumbing is not on here, we kind of dealt with that, is that specifically omitted here? It's kind of in the same
I think
group.
I think it's built into the building permit fees.
Okay. Okay,
Are we ready for a motion?
I think we are.
I move that the select board approve the revised building permit fees, electric permit fees, as proposed by the building inspector and the director of public works, with the fees to become effective immediately.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? Ready to vote? Jeff?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
And John is yes. Okay, so those will go in there, does that get announced someplace, Tony? Or is that just all of a sudden when you show up at the building department, you see the numbers?
We'll update the fee list on the website. It'll
Okay.
get integrated into the online portal.
And this will go in effect when?
Immediately tomorrow.
Today? Okay. Good. All right. Next discussion item, capital plan review.
So
Could I ask that the next time we do this, you provide a link where we can pick up the spreadsheet? I can barely read the Pico type, and I want to be able to compare things, and doing that on this paper is
All right.
very hard.
yes, you got a PDF version. The
PDF, no,
spreadsheets,
I
yeah, I
want-
can give you,
Not the spreadsheet.
they're gonna be a couple of documents.
I
but
want
I will
the-
send them all to you.
I want the
Yeah.
XLS, not
Yes,
PDF.
you're right,
Yeah.
yep.
So you're gonna blow it up?
Oh.
Okay.
Right off.
7:30. We're
Okay.
new in town, but we'll be back.
Okay.
Okay.
With these spreadsheets and these large capital plans, you're always fighting the margins on a standard piece of paper. We're trying to,
I
Yeah,
understand why the
spread out.
type is so small, but if you gave me something that I could use on my computer so I could scroll around on it,
yes, yeah.
that would be,
Happy to send that over. We've talked about this a little bit in the past. We're due to take another look at our capital plan. It's been a few years, and one of the approach that we're taking is having multiple sheets as part of this plan because naturally, there's a lot of different ways to look at the information. The plan that we've presented in draft form lists out all of our capital items by category: facility, infrastructure, amenity, school district, and then a projected cost of the projects. The following page then breaks that out into multiple years, looking forward as to when those costs may hit our books. Still categorized in the different categories. And then the following page, which I think is probably the most helpful that you eventually get to, is organizing these capital items in a fiscal year chronological order. So you can start to look at how does this impact the town over the upcoming years. And the next page is really what I think is it's a summary of the capital plan that looks at how the debt of these projects impact the town, what that debt service looks like per fiscal year, and also a summary of revenue that helps us fiscally plan for that debt. That needs to be updated as well. We hope to be adding in a comprehensive fleet schedule list as well, and we talked about a list for different types of studies or other analysis that we might have programmed. Chuck and Andrea and I will continue to work on refining this so it gets to a form where the select board can vote to approve the capital plan. What we talked about the other day was the facility planning committee and their role and how they get guidance from the town or the select board as to what may be at the top of their priority list. So in the near future, we really want to take a look at, this capital plan and specifically the facility categories and those that, are due for discussion or potential requests for funding in the upcoming town meeting or the following year. And then once that's approved, the facility planning committee can get to kind of keep looking at those items specifically, understand what their guidance is. So that way, when it comes time to come back to the select board or the finance committee in the spring to prepare for town meeting, the facility planning committee has already kind of done a lot of that work that they're charged to do. So we're ready to go.
So I'm looking at, this last page, which is the one that really says, here's where your accountability is, what you're spending and when you're gonna spend it. And we've got like a ratchets of 2.5% for several years in a row there for borrowed monies, which is a lot. And this is where things stand right now.
That is a few, maybe it came in FY26, so a year old, I think, so it needs to be updated.
So one
Yeah,
of the pieces of information I'm not clear on, because it's a really good comprehensive look, so first of all, thank you. It's my understanding that some of these things, especially under the facilities, we're planning, the priority may be driven by available grant funding. For example, the bathhouse or
The harbor master.
the harbor master office.
right.
So, for example, when you see harbor master office 750K, is that assuming that we would pursue granting for the whole 750? Okay, so in this high-level overview, which is terrific, it might be helpful to just have a little column to designate that. So we spend more time talking about the things that we might need to tax for. And then, for example, things that we hope will get grant funding for. If we don't, and they're a nice to have, that may fall to the lower on the priority list, right? So I think the grant designation might be helpful.
Yeah, we can come up with some way to
Or
identify
color-coded or
that
something,
somehow,
yeah.
Change the color.
Yeah, something simple.
Yeah, the harbor office is not on the list here in the
It
end.
is, under facilities.
What is the facilities? It's not in the debt service
Oh, okay.
spreadsheet.
Yeah, so I
Right.
just look at the high-level overview of everything.
Yeah, the first page. This one I can kind of read. So
Because if it says planning level FY of completion, for example, the fiscal year, that fourth column in here. New DPW, it says planning level fiscal year of completion FY '27. Does that mean, according to the most recent data, we want to understand what we're doing this fiscal year, right?
Right.
But then there's the harbor master office, which I guess should have been done
2 years?
2 years ago. So I, like, this,
Yeah,
this column is a really good column. And if you guys get that up to date, just from a facilities planning committee, that helps us.
Yeah.
Plus the
Would it
grant.
make sense to order the subcategories by date of completion? They seem to be just sort of random.
Yeah, the planning level, that column there, yes. I think they also need to be updated.
They gotta, yeah.
They have to
need
be updated first.
Yeah, right. Well, you can sort them and then fix them.
Right, because that's a good place to start. And then, if we know something's grant funded, we may
Yeah.
spend less time.
Right now, the assumption is we're borrowing everything.
Well,
Like
not quite, as far as this capital plan goes.
Yeah, the capital
and how
plan.
it feeds into a lot of the discussion that the select board or the facilities planning committee or the finance committee are gonna be involved in. Obviously, the ones that are going to be taxing to our residents, are gonna be on this list, but there are projects that may not come at a cost to the town, as far as capital investment goes, but they still have to be, discussed and agreed upon by the town if it's something that we wanna be pursuing. So this document, when completed, really kind of provides the core guidance of priorities, right, to myself and
Yeah, so this is the whole thing.
So it's a good listing. To Kathy's comment, I agree, you need a column that says responsible financing. You don't need to do anything with it.
It's a source,
Other than just say,
financing source.
This
funding
might
source,
be
yeah.
funding, and if we get it, just be prepared, we're gonna have to recast things a little bit, because we're not borrowing that money. But you need to know where those possibilities
Right.
exist.
So for example, for the facility planning committee, even if we got a grant to build a facility that, and it was fully funded through grant, there's gonna be operational costs associated with that. And some of the comments or commentary at the facility planning committee is, how do we wanna design this building, for what it's gonna look like in 20 years, 30 years, what's that annual operational expense? So even though it may not trigger a town meeting vote to spend money on it because it's funded by a grant, there's still some cost element and therefore, important for those discussions to be had.
Okay. I think you've got all the layouts that people need to see at some point in time when they're trying to look and see what's going on. I can't think of any other. You've got 4 different layouts, that's everything.
That's a good list, really
Yeah.
good list.
So at this point, the next step is really, okay, let's make sure this is a little more updated, because some of this is old.
Mhm.
And it doesn't reflect reality, it needs to be pushed ahead so that it knows this is where we are fiscal year '27 going forward, instead of fiscal year '25, oh, we didn't do this and we didn't do that, it's not real. Okay,
Yeah, I think the next time we come to the select board with an updated draft, we could, spend a little bit more time kind of talking through.
Yeah.
It's like the next couple year projects.
That's when you want to focus down, or really what's happening
Should this
7,
be
8
bumped
years.
out? Should this be bumped up? Should it, any types of.
All right,
This would be good, just to make sure that what we show here in the updated version is also, we use it to update Chuck's list of the to-dos for the facilities planning committee. He's got our action list, so that'd be good.
it's good.
So,
Any other questions, comments on these lots of numbers? Oh, yes, sir. Right?
Maury Creighton, 37 Project Street, Finance Committee. I know we talked about this before when the FinCom and the selectmen met about grants. And I know, Tony, when you go on the site, you can see all the grants that are in various states. But I was wondering, we've talked about this, if there's a forward look or a planning look on what grants we're applying for. And the reason I mention this is oftentimes we apply for a grant, we get it, and then it's like, okay, we've sort of caught the bus, now what do we do? And sometimes our participation with that grant involves a fair amount of capital funding, down the road, maintenance funding, operational funding. So kind of looking at that overall picture ahead of time would be really good, because there might be grants that quite frankly look really promising, but you just look at the big picture and go, in context with everything else we're doing, we just can't quite afford this now. We don't have the staff for it or whatever. So I'm always thinking 5 years out, 10 years out, how can we order these things by priority? That's just my comment. And I know we've mentioned this before. It usually starts with grants and then gets to debt and operation, vehicles, all sorts of things, so.
yeah, we discussed that at the facilities planning committee. We don't want the presence of a grant to drive our priorities. We want our priorities to be driven by us and the townsfolk, and then we figure out how to fund the stuff. But we don't want the tail wagging the dog.
Thanks.
In practice, it's a mix of the two, I think. There's certainly some planning involved in a lot of them. Sometimes a grant is presented, becomes available, and we may look at it and say, is there something that we've been talking about or, has been planned for that this could be helpful to? And then there's also that layer of, well, what's the fine print involved with this grant? What does it require, long-term for the town? And try to make a decision as to whether it's something that we want to pursue or not. Typically when a grant is announced, you have a decent amount of time to evaluate that, sometimes longer than others. So I think it's a good point. I think that you'll never really have like the full picture because of the grants that pop up sometimes. But it's a good, especially for the grants that we know come out on an annual basis. You look at the capital plan, like when we're talking about the senior center, for instance, we know green communities opportunities are available, so we're looking at that. With the harbor office, we know when Seaport Economic Council grants happen. So there's some of it you can have a better planning approach to. Some of it won't be there, but that's okay. They filter through a process, and sometimes work or worth it, and sometimes they aren't.
Right, good. Thank you. Any further comment on this discussion item? So this will get revisited when? It's like
Either
2 months out, 3 months out?
Yeah, I would say a month.
Month, okay.
Yeah, we can't go too far. The facility planning committee obviously is looking for some guidance, and before you know it, we'll be getting ready for a Springtown meeting, so.
Okay, can you add that to our to-do list on an action item and throw in something in August? That'd be good.
If you could provide access to the current state through
The Excel file.
spreadsheet, so an Excel file.
Yes.
So
Yes, I can use that. I had the same problem, and they do not print well.
I don't know whether it's the printing or my eyes, but
No,
neither
no,
one is,
no.
it's a bad combination.
So. Okay. The next topic, waste disposal and curbside collection contract update. Perhaps number one on our list, but it was down on the list.
Yes.
It's number one, I think, in terms of our concerns right now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, acknowledging the inconvenience of the interruption in service is important. This is, quite frankly, it's the last thing that we wanted to experience again after last year. And the decision that we made the other day was a difficult decision to make, but as I spoke with all of you, it was really about a short-term headache and inconvenience for a long-term benefit. The easier road may have been to just re-sign with Republic, our pre-existing contractor, but we had serious concerns about the terms of the contract. And those were identified really through the strike that we went through last year, where the contract that the town was engaged in with Republic gave us no protection or leverage, and we suffered for that, where we had to absorb a lot of costs that we had taken on in order to, fix or service the residents during the strike.
Didn't we get a reduction in fees as well?
In the proposed contract?
No, in when it happened and we spent the money picking stuff up, I believe that they reduced the fees for the time that they were not servicing.
Right, technically per the contract, they didn't have to reduce anything. They ended up only charging us for the services that they provided. We fought back and forth with Republic about also, reducing the fee based on the money that we spent in order to backfill their operation. And they weren't interested in having that conversation.
If they're not charging us for doing it and we do it.
Now, we ended up submitting them a payment that reduced it according to our calculations, and they took that payment.
Okay.
But technically, per the contract, they could have
walked away.
They could have fought us on that. So we actually, under Greg, dating back to December of 2024, the town has asked Republic for a new contract, expecting that the contract was expiring in June, just the other day. And then the strike occurred, and we pushed for language for a new contract shortly after that, after especially experiencing all those issues. In the early spring of this year, we pushed really hard to get updated numbers for the upcoming year because we were developing the budget. And if you recall, it wasn't until I think February or March that they even gave us some proposed numbers that was enough to put into the budget so we could properly plan for the upcoming fiscal year. We continued to push on Republic for real numbers, and eventually we got those, but we still hadn't got a contract amendment because we had already been looking at our contract with KP Law, our legal counsel, and identified terms that we wanted to change moving forward. When they went on strike, 14 communities were involved, and KP Law, for those towns that had KP Law, looked at all the contracts, and we had one of the worst terms, as far as language in the contract, we had one of the worst versions. So it was very important to us to fix those things. We didn't receive the contract terms from Republic until the last Friday in May. So a month before the contract was due to expire. We submitted back the changes to the terms that we wanted, that KP Law drafted for us, and a week before the contract expired, Republic rejected those changes. Now, throughout this time, in the last 6 months, we've been pushing Republic for information and also reaching out to other vendors. We really didn't have a lot of luck. I think it's fair to say that Manchester by the Sea really doesn't move the needle far for these contractors. But one thing that changed was Republic, who then had us, Gloucester, Beverly, North Reading, all with contracts coming up for expiration in June. North Reading, Gloucester, and Beverly switched to Casella. And a lot of, they laid off a lot of their employees in Republic, and a lot of those employees were then hired by Casella to service those communities. Once Casella moved into our neighboring communities, their interest in picking up Manchester by the Sea grew. And Hamilton and Wenham, who have had Casella for the last however long, their contract with Casella was expiring in June as well. So they had been negotiating a new contract with Casella for an extension, and Beverly and Gloucester and North Reading had picked up Casella. And then our terms were rejected by Republic. So we really ramped up conversations in the last week or so, 2 weeks, with Casella. And we were happy with the contract terms that Hamilton and Wenham with KP Law negotiated with Casella. That included, eliminating a labor strike from the force majeure section of the contract. Included title for the waste stream. So that is, once Casella collects trash, they have legal title of it versus we maintaining that legal title.
What's the
Important,
significance of that?
well,
Risk.
if it's contaminated in
Contamination.
any way, if it
Okay.
gets, down the road, once it goes from them to the next stop. Important insurance information and non-performance liquidated damages, which we never had in our current contract. So Casella had agreed to those terms with Hamilton and Wenham, their legal counsel, and KP Law, legal counsel for those two towns, had agreed to those terms, and they actually signed on June 30th. So on July 1st, we spoke with Casella again and said, we would like the same contract terms, and if you're willing to take us on, we'd be happy to do that, and they agreed. So again, things moved really fast there in the end, and I think it was a product of Casella picking up some of our neighboring towns, Republic being reluctant to negotiate the terms of the contract, and the more and more I spoke with other communities, the more concern I had for Republic, doing a 5-year contract with Republic long-term. So that brings us to July 2nd, when we notified Republic and we notified the residents immediately that we were gonna be dealing with this interruption. We have limited information right now because Casella quickly was picking us up and adding them to their schedule. We knew that they weren't going to be here today and tomorrow, but they did say we hope to be there the following week. We don't know if it's going to be a weekly trash and recycling collection from now through September, or if it's going to be every other week recycling, or some other form. We're waiting for them to give us that information so we can talk about that with the residents. I mentioned to them how important it was that no matter what the form looks like, that it's consistent and that we can get that message out. One of the biggest scars, I think, from the Republic strike was we wouldn't know until the night before our collection day whether or not they were coming. And I think that was a tough position, for us and for our residents, to be in. So we want to get that information out as soon as possible. The other element with moving to Casella was that we have to move to automated collection by September. Now, we always knew that we were going to have to move to automated collection. Like as I mentioned earlier, the deal with Republic was that we would just have a surcharge of about $14,000 per month that we did not convert. But we were adamant about taking our time and performing a proper public process as to how we wanted to roll that out and organize that. So now we have to do that quickly, and it's gonna be a busy July and August, developing a proposed approach, gathering public input, and deciding how that's gonna work. But it's gonna include a uniform trash barrel, a uniform recycling barrel, whether those are 35 gallon, 65 gallon, 96 gallon totes, whether you provide an option for residents to choose, whether there's a fee associated with that, you know, the transfer station and still using the orange bags to for overflow. A lot of those decisions, you know, we have to come up with in a quick turnaround, so we can get back to, you know, confirmed automated collect, or get to automated collection on a weekly process. There's also the option of going to every other week recycling when it comes to automated collection, which saves about $70,000 on the contract. Those are things that we're gonna talk about and gather feedback from the public, but we have been working on this for quite some time, and unfortunately, it takes two partners to sign a contract, and we weren't getting the response that we wanted to. But we're happy with the terms of the new contract with Casella. I think it's positive that they are gonna be servicing the communities around us, so they're gonna be in the area, you know, every week. And we gotta go through inconvenience in the short term. But we're gonna try as hard as we can to get this figured out and communicate as best as we can and get it back to normal.
So what is the current, until we have more information, right? What is the current communication plan? Because in the absence, so what we've noticed, right, is in the absence of detailed communication, the residents are scouring the websites of the neighboring towns and assuming sometimes that we're gonna do the same thing, which is not true. So, I think, you know, you kind of did a really good crisis communication last year, right? A weekly update, no matter what. I think, you know, that was successful last year, and I think you should consider doing it again. You're right. If nothing's changed, you just tell everybody, hey, nothing's changed. Or we know we're gonna need the orange bags, not quite sure for what yet, maybe just the transfer station, but, you know, don't throw them all out yet. You know, anything you can tell them that we know, or just no new info, every week just say something, because they are really scouring the web right now.
We
They're
can
very,
do that.
they're very
The first-
resourceful.
The first level, I think a little bit more explanation as to what just happened.
Yeah.
You know, last week was immediately, we need to let people know
Right.
trash isn't coming next week. Obviously, without the background that I just talked about, led to a lot of response. So the next line of communication is really kind of explaining the situation that we found ourselves in, and that we are truly making you know, the harder but correct decision, I think, for the residents long term. And then shortly thereafter is what to expect as far as Casella collection format over the next few weeks, couple months. And then really promoting, you know, the public forums that we're gonna have, or, you know, what are the details that we're gonna be discussing, and once those decisions are made.
What do you wanna give people, a place to send, a centralized place to send their questions?
Yeah.
You know, just, you know, cause I think you published a FAQ last year, right? So maybe, you know, a centralized place for, because otherwise they're gonna be emailing you, emailing Chuck, emailing us, posting on Facebook, and just collecting.
Well, really, it should be the DPW.
Yeah, well, they have
That
the
should be
same role.
point of contact.
I'm just saying, but we haven't told anybody to do that, right?
Yeah.
So,
Will they have the same role this summer as they did last summer, DPW?
Yeah.
Okay, for helping people
Yeah.
that, for whatever reason.
Yeah,
can't,
it's-
so.
Yeah, and it's already,
I think maybe the DPW even was running the routes for a few days at some point. But after that, it was kind of ad hoc when people had problems. Okay, so any kind of a schedule and/or what that cost is for the summer, that's still all in the works. We don't know with Casella. But what do they do to come back with us, or is that a daily discussion with those guys?
Well, so they, as well as dealing with the holiday, they've, added new contracts and we're running around, I think, setting up all these new accounts. So they have our language and our questions as far as finalizing the contract and signing it. They have our commitment to move forward. I'm hoping to get that back this week. And also this week, have some sort of understanding from them as to what they can provide to us in the coming weeks and months.
In parallel. All right, so both of these
Parallel.
answers have to come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they've mentioned that some of it is like what happened in Beverly with Republic, where shortly after the decision was made to go with Casella, Republic had laid off a number of their employees, and then Casella picked them up, which offered them the opportunity, the ability to ramp up, service quickly.
These people know the
They
neighborhoods.
know the routes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see if something like that happens here too. But they'll get us information as soon as possible. The other thing I really want to know from them is, when do we need to make a decision about the types of barrels? If we're aiming for a September 1st rollout, I assume we have to make that decision with enough lead time so that the barrels can get stamped and.
So there's the questions directly related to the barrels, but then there's also the ancillary questions like, okay, so we usually put our, barrels out on the street where there's parking allowed. Now do we have to walk them across the
Right.
other side of the street?
Right.
Because the cars are gonna block the barrels, so there's all the ancillary stuff. That's why, I think just publishing something weekly with the random questions we're all gonna
Yeah,
come up with
yeah.
is just like you did last year, is gonna be really helpful.
And I want to be as available as possible to residents, that if they have questions or comments, to stop by town hall, send me an email. I've lived as a Beverly resident. Knowing that this automated conversion was gonna happen, I saw firsthand how it was as a resident to be absorbing that information and kind of following it along. And really wanted to get this done the right way, and make it as least impactful as possible. And now unfortunately, we're right where we didn't want to be. So we're gonna do everything we can to make up for that. And
So what are the corners of your discussion then? Who pays for the barrels? How many sizes? What else?
What to do with the bags, orange bags.
Yeah.
I mean, they probably are still needed for the transfer station,
probably.
for overflow, so that's what to do about the orange bags, how do people get rid of the barrels they already have?
Yes, throwing out a trash can turns out to be hard.
Well, I think the contract, so they take care of that for you.
They'll take away the barrels.
What to do, I mean, right now, recycling is free.
Yep.
Okay, so is that still gonna be the case, even though you're getting a barrel, or is that not gonna be the case?
If they're charging us for it, I guess.
Like I said, you asked what could some of those other
Yep.
questions be? Are people gonna have to pay for recycling where they don't today? What to do about those who
How do you charge? I mean, do we charge by a year or do we?
Well, it's usually like the water sewer payment, bills come out, that kind of
I mean, okay,
Unfortunately-
the water sewer doesn't quite work because we have people who are not on water.
I'm just saying it's a mechanism, usually people that I know of, they get bills,
Yeah.
like they would.
And so we'd be,
Yeah, we.
or we could put it on the tax rate. And the advantage of that is that for
Certainly
people,
it's less administratively burdensome.
it's
It's beneficial to the resident. The issue is that not only, the contract, even if we re-signed with Republic, we were looking at a 50% increase in cost of contract, plus a 5% increase per year for the next 5 years. And by going to automated collection and eliminating
Orange bag.
most of the orange bags,
Oh.
that revenue stream was around $300,000. So we're faced with a $600,000, $500,000 to $600,000 change
Mhm.
in the financing.
Okay.
You know, with
And
the
we
increase
put-
in
we put-
cost
we
and the
put
reduction in revenue.
300,000 into the budget, I think.
We're funded in the budget. We expected that the increase in the bag fees would help with that a little bit. Obviously, that's different now.
Oh.
So you could,
But you're gonna have bin fees, right? Instead of bag fees, you have a different type of fee.
that's, I think what Ann is asking. Those
Yeah,
are
and
the
then
elements of the
people who
conversation.
put out a bin every other week.
I think that we will, for the upcoming fiscal year, we can absorb this change. But I don't think,
In the
I'd
long
be
run,
nervous about the next 4 years, the general fund being able to support that cost on its own.
I think one of the advantages of a public meeting is that people tell me things that I hadn't thought about.
Right.
And I wish we had been able to have that discussion about this contract.
Well, I think what we're talking about now is not specific to the contract, it's
No,
It's
how do we
it's how we're gonna
wanna
pay for it.
implement it, how are we gonna pay for it?
How we're gonna pay
how
for
we
it
gonna
and
pay for, it?
We have time to
we-
talk to the public
We
about
have
that.
time, we have money enough in the budget so that we don't have to make that decision by September.
you also have the option, or I wouldn't say the option, the opportunity to talk with all these other towns. They're not having conversations that are any different from what's going on here.
Right.
Okay? And we don't need to reinvent the wheel, just say, went down this road, went down that road, this is what happened, et cetera.
Lessons learned, yeah.
And we can find out pretty quickly what didn't work and why it didn't work. Have any of these towns done it for like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years? And so they've got
We've
feedback.
had-
Longer than that.
Some town, like Beverly, for instance, we have a trash fee in Beverly that we pay as part of our utility bill quarterly, I think, it's quarterly.
Okay.
But we didn't have bags. We could put trash out in whatever barrel we owned and it would
Right,
get
right,
collected. We were limited to the size of the barrel and how many barrels you could put out. That's the difference here is we're converting from
We're converting from use.
a true pay-as-you-throw
Right.
Yeah.
style.
Not 100%, but it was a big chunk of what the cost was. And we're converting, if you don't do anything, that there is no use at all. Somebody uses it a lot or a little, everybody's paying the same number, and
When you go
that
to,
makes some noise.
when you go to the automated collection, you lose some of that ability to,
Flexibility.
that it's based on usage, or more so based on usage, right? So now you're talking about a fee that you have to kind of standardize that, and it doesn't matter how much you use the trash and recycling, unless of course it's overflow, or how much you don't use it, you'd be contributing.
Or you could, if you had different sized barrels,
Right.
you could charge different amounts.
You could, but we'll have to investigate all of that. I mean, before, what was it, $800,000 for trash hauling plus disposal, and $300,000 for the bags. So 40% of the cost was use-based, because it was bags. And, I mean, going to the system just as it stands, 100% is, none of it is use-based.
And then, of course, there's the sustainability side of the conversation too, is, pushing recycling and pushing composting.
Composting, yeah, but recycling at this point,
Cost-wise is more expensive.
yeah.
Recycling costs more than trash. But moving things like into composting reduces your tonnage. So there's a
And-
lot of,
Black Earth did a really
Gotta
good
work
job.
for the sustainability committee to help us with.
Right.
Black
Well-
Earth did a good job of saying, buy compostable paper
Yes.
plates.
they
For
did.
your 4th of July.
Right.
Well, the dialogue on that sort of stuff, and I think it's a little early right now, but we need to get some input from some of these other towns as to why things didn't work certain ways and why they're doing things. And that has to be a dialogue that really has to start this month,
Mhm.
like at the next meeting, and maybe there's a forum, I don't know, is that something that lends itself to that?
But do you have
Tiffany
any
and I
plans? Yeah, so,
Tiffany and I are talking through that communication plan tomorrow.
Okay.
And we may be, coming up with some public meeting dates to put out there.
Survey, I don't know, we gotta do something.
We can get that started, and communicated. Even short of knowing what the next couple weeks look like, if we're gonna be talking about this so consistently anyways, I'd like to get that out there so people know, okay, there is an opportunity coming to learn more about this and provide input.
Good,
Are you gonna put out some kind of public statement saying how we got to where we are right now?
Yes. I have a draft. I started writing up a script for the Manchester Minute video. I plan on doing an article from the town administrator in the Cricket.
Yeah, that's good.
And hopefully the video goes out tomorrow.
Okay.
article in the Cricket and all that sort of
And all,
stuff.
yep.
Yeah, just regular communication, at least people know where to go and.
You wanna talk to the Gloucester Times?
Yep, I'm sure, he probably reached out already, so yeah, I will.
okay.
Hopefully the Globe won't be interested.
Good, well, it's at the top of your to-do list, just like it was a year ago.
Congratulations, every time it's the first of every year.
No, it's
You got trash and
the
trash.
annual event, let's hope not.
I think it's you.
It's you.
This one bothers me because I really, we really did not want to be in this situation. We never wanted to repeat of that last year. And
Oh, we had
it was
talked
a
months
tough,
ago.
it was a tough decision because the easy option was to just re-sign with Republic. But in my gut, all the signals and all the conversations we've been having and seeing all these bigger towns convert to Casella, it just made me nervous about the contract. And when they rejected our proposed changes so late in the game, that was a moment there where it's like, okay, we have to make a hard decision here.
Or in other words, it is unwise to sign a contract with a supplier who, maybe doesn't want your business.
Hmm.
When you are a small fish in a big pond,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have any leverage, and we are not a small fish, we are guppies, okay? So, you don't get the attention, takes two to tango, and if you don't have an interested partner.
How big a
it's
company
not a
is
good
Casella?
situation.
They're pretty big. I think
Nationwide or regional?
they're nationwide, but they are primarily eastern from Maryland up to Maine. They're like the number one on the recycling side, they're probably the number one company on the East Coast.
Guess I don't understand quite how I've heard presentations by the people who run the recycling plant. Will we use the same recycling plant or will we'll use Casella's recycling?
We'll have to use Casella's.
Okay,
So it's not the North Andover or wherever we
Oh,
went.
that was
no,
trash.
that's
That's
trash.
trash.
That's trash, that's Wheeler
I think theirs is in Boston, somewhere outside of Boston.
Okay, so we may have different requirements.
No, it'll be the same.
It's single cycle.
Standards, yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the issues. I don't know if you remember. We talked about like, could we do this in house or could we use Black Earth or
Yeah.
But the issue is that we have the contract for
The trash.
the trash side, but we don't on recycling. So
And probably the companies aren't interested in.
the collectors
Yeah.
manage those recycling facilities.
Aha,
So-
vertical,
Oh,
So you end up.
vertical monopoly.
Integrated, yeah.
Yeah.
kind of captured.
You'd end up getting hit on it with the recycling contract at that point, if they even allowed you to dispose
So
of stuff.
I assume that they are not set up to handle any kind of multiple stream.
I can find out.
I mean, just if we could separate glass and paper. It's more barrels, it's more hassle, but it's much better recycling.
One thing that we touched on briefly with Casella, but still haven't gone through the fine details yet, is whether we could have a cardboard collection opportunity for residents. Especially when you go to these automated barrels, you know, the cardboard tends to
Amazon will mess you up.
take up a lot of your space.
Amazon will mess you up big time, yeah.
Maybe less convenient, you know, to have to bring your cardboard to, let's say, the transfer station for a cardboard dumpster, but it also may allow you to put, you know,
Lower cost.
yeah, I don't know. So we'll find out what that looks like and talk through that too.
What are we doing about recycling at the transfer station right now? It's still the same?
Yep, we have two separate recycling and trash.
Who's hauling
But
the
that's
trash?
not changing while this 2-month
No,
situation's going on.
Who's hauling the trash then?
Casella's hauling.
Casella's hauling our,
Stuff from the transfer station?
yeah, okay.
Yep.
So
And I
that's,
saw them putting in dumpsters.
okay, I was there
Yeah.
today.
I was there this morning.
Wasn't heavy traffic. That
It
was like
started
second.
around, a little before 8, there was a little bit of a line, I got there before 8. It was good. Right.
All right, thank you for the update there. This is going to be a standing topic for a while. Okay, One School Street. Brick sidewalk.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you very much, Bill.
All right, so One School Street, a brick sidewalk was installed by the owner of that property. Essentially, what we're talking about is an encroachment, you know, to think about it that way, it's an
If you
encroachment
rip up-
to town property.
Rip up the sidewalk in front of your house, you would expect to be in trouble.
Right.
You would think.
Right. Now, there was communication with the town about this idea of piloting a brick sidewalk, to which we were, okay, we could think about doing that. That might work, but we need to talk to all the right people, it's gotta go through a process, we need to make sure that the spec of the install is gonna meet our standards, you know, those things were communicated. However, the next, you know, very shortly thereafter, the sidewalk started to be installed. So what are our options? Essentially, you're dealing with like an encroachment on public property, which our ability to combat that is through legal action. It's not a fine, we can't just come up with a number to throw a fine at it or something like that. We've been through these types of encroachment issues in the past, and the legal road tends to be a long one that eventually ends up in, you know, you get pressured into, we should just come up with some sort of settlement approach here to fix what we're dealing with. I've talked with legal about what does that look like? And essentially, the option is an agreement. We have a couple things that we have to be mindful of. One is indemnity. You know, that if anyone is injured, you know, on that property, we want to be indemnified because we didn't build it, it wasn't to our spec. We would want the property owner to be liable for that. Two is if we're not wanting to keep a brick sidewalk, if we're not happy with the way that it was installed and we want it converted back to something else or installed a certain way, the owner should have to pay for that, not the town. And three, some sort of commitment that this wouldn't happen again in the future. So they're working on a draft agreement of that nature for me to meet with the property owner and hopefully get agreement on that. And I'll share that draft agreement with all of you before moving forward.
The plantings that were there were native and perennial, and the English ivy just doesn't cut it.
If you want, we could probably add that to the conversation about proper types of planting that we would want to see there. I believe those plantings have been changed since the original planting of the native
But-
style. I think those have been gone for a while, but
But
nonetheless.
there were garden type plants rather than English ivy.
Yeah.
And
Who's been maintaining those plants?
I think the property owner.
Property owner has since he took possession of it.
And that was what?
The plants that were there for the past couple of years?
I think, and I could be wrong, I think that when we purchased the building, I do remember some changes going on. I think maybe 2 years ago, those plantings were changed, but he's been maintaining that.
They were changed because of visibility problems.
No,
The
that was
original ones were too tall.
No, that was on the corner of Union and Summer.
No, we're talking on right on
School.
Union and School, yeah, I think that.
Union School, those plants were too high.
Yeah,
they
they
were.
want to give visibility for store.
Yeah, but to
the
make it a
storefronts
left turn
that he
off the
wants.
school.
Yeah. I believe that the property owner did in fact do that when he first took possession.
But you're saying that they have been changed in the last 2 or 3 weeks?
No. In the last few years, I think.
No,
Yeah.
No,
they
but in
were,
the last
they were
one-
changed when
When
they
they
put
ripped
in
up the sidewalk.
ripped up
Yeah,
the
and then they
sidewalk.
put something else in.
The actual
Yes.
bed was the same size. I think
Yes.
you just
And they
changed.
put
it.
in some other plant, I don't know what plant.
English ivy.
Okay.
Not nearly as lovely as what was there.
I guess my concern right at this minute is if somebody gets hurt on that sidewalk for whatever reason,
Mhm.
who is liable right now?
Property owner.
We are.
Until we
Yeah,
get this
right,
agreement.
yeah.
That's.
So we need to take action
Well,
fairly
that's in that
quickly
letter.
here.
That'll be in that letter.
So this commitment not to reoffend, does that come with a penalty should they reoffend? Because if we have this type of agreement, then should it happen again, that would be especially unfortunate, I'll say, and deserving of some type of penalty, I would think. And
I'd like
if
to-
you
to that point,
warn
I
them
think-
ahead
I
of
think that's
time,
an-
you know.
You know, again, full disclosure, I'm a tenant, okay, but I've also, represented the town with him over the last couple of years on the community center, some other issues there. I think that is something that we should talk to legal about as far as a penalty going forward, unless he can't proceed with anything without written approval from this board.
Yeah.
And
I understand you can't penalize them and
we can't go past,
pass,
we can,
but
we can
going
set up-
forward,
And I don't know if that's something legal can look at as far as
I think it's
imposing,
important.
We
And
spoke
then-
briefly about that.
Yeah.
There was a couple concerns with that approach from legal.
Okay.
One is what authority or guidance are we pulling from some sort of regulation that would point to what that penalty amount should be? There really isn't anything in existence there. And two, it may be, a penalty for if you do it again, but it also then kind of becomes a price to do it again.
well,
Right.
David, my suggestion is
Right.
X amount of dollars per day.
Yeah.
While,
It's
okay,
a day.
and make it, after a while.
Truthfully,
I don't,
the penalty is, we would take legal action and we would, point to this agreement if we get signed agreement on some sort of terms that we're good with.
Well, I don't
That's-
understand that them having to agree, okay? An agreement is normally an agreement between two parties. They broke the law, okay? They ripped up public property. I don't understand the concept of agreeing to something.
Well, it's
we-
leverage, it's basically leverage. I mean, our option is to take legal action.
Right.
And if we want to pursue legal action, that's a decision we would make,
can we wrap our legal costs on this into the restoration of that sidewalk?
We could push for that, but I don't know if a judge would ultimately agree to it.
I I don't see why, honestly, I
I
don't
think we
see why
should
not,
try,
because we
because
can't
why
just let
should-
everybody rip up public sidewalks whenever they feel like it.
We shouldn't be on the hook to defend ourselves on
Absolutely.
something like this.
If it ever even went to trial, it's.
I'm not saying it is, but part of this agreement, there's gotta be more than just putting the sidewalk back.
Well, I think that, to that point, let's draft it and see what happens.
But to Jeff's point, let's be tracking our legal costs and ask for reimbursement of those as well.
Right, why shouldn't we?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm sorry, you mean.
You mean the current one, so
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Yes,
clock is ticking right now.
it is ticking,
Right.
and make them pay.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's fair, and right now, one of the requests is when and if, and I assume it's a when question, that the sidewalks in all of the area, based upon what the DIP decides to do, changes, they have to meet that requirement on their dime. They already have the bricks there, I
So-
assume it'll be bricks, but they're gonna have to.
So let's follow that thread. I know that Mark Resnick was working with the planning board, I guess, to kind of discuss brick sidewalks. How long will it take to complete that analysis and process? Because if it's gonna be all year, I say get rid of the brick, put in something that's standard, that we know people won't trip over or whatever, and
Well,
know,
just
and I
even,
would-
just put it back the way
just
it was.
even for snow removal, cause now
Right.
you got pavement,
Well, I'm
and
gonna.
then you
okay.
got bricks.
So
What's
if,
gonna keep
The,
the
I guess-
sidewalk
Can I
plow
make
from
this
tearing the
suggestion?
bricks out?
well, let me
I'd like
just,
to-
can I just clarify my thought? My thought was, part of, I think, the reason why this happens is sometimes municipalities are slow to make decisions and people get impatient. It's not a good reason to go ripping up a sidewalk, but part of, we're not 100% blameless here. So what I'm just asking, I think that the potential solution might depend on how long it's gonna take to get through our whole process on whether or not we want a brick sidewalk. If that process is gonna be a long time, my personal opinion is rip it up, put it back the way it should be, and send the bill to the property owner.
Well,
That's
first
just-
of all, you don't know the spec that is built to. So even
I
if we,
heard that it was different
even
than our
if,
spec, yeah.
even if we decide to put in brick sidewalks, we don't know that that patch
Right.
is gonna be what we want down the road.
Joe?
Yes, you're correct, and I can tell you that we know that
It wasn't.
We know
the
it's not.
spec that it was built at is not to our standard.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, and I didn't wanna get into that.
We know
part.
that now, which
Can I-
it
can I
may
make
be
this
fine
suggestion?
short term, but a lot of the reason for that spec is to ensure,
It doesn't
long
frost
term,
heave and.
right.
The, may I suggest the following, all right? Yes, we don't know what the DIP wants to do, okay, at this point. We don't know brick, okay, or style of brick or whatever, okay? That small portion is there. Let's take it for a ride. Let's see how it handles the entire 4 seasons. Winter, heat, okay? Then, that gives the DIP some ideas of what it looks like, what they're gonna do. If the DIP decides we're gonna change it, then he rips it out. Or if the DIP says, we like the brick, there was a Boston City Hall pavers, which are common all over the place, okay? Then if they like that, but under the auspices of the DPW, they want, the DPW wants it laid differently, then at that point, he has to rip it up and put it down to the specifications of the town, but it's there.
I just
okay?
want to clarify,
My-
this is not in the hands of the Downtown Improvement Committee, it's in the hands of the town
I
planner
understand.
and the planning board.
I don't
The-
think it is, isn't it? It's a select
It's-
board, isn't it?
I'm just saying, as far as, so the Downtown Improvement Committee worked with, members of the community, and somebody suggested the brick sidewalks, they brought that to Mark Resnick. Mark has been working on the standards or whatever. Downtown Improvement Committee, I just want to correct you,
Okay.
Downtown Improvement Committee is not
But my
involved.
point is, we've got a very small sample, and that's, in architecture, in construction, there's a lot of times they say, I wanna see a sample, okay? And the reality here is, I was up in Gunkwood, Maine on Friday, okay, Portland, there's brick, it's gorgeous, it's all over the place. I've always been a fan of brick pavers. We have it there, let's keep an eye on it. If at any given time DPW determines that it's a hazard, then it has to be ripped up.
So I think
Yes.
what Tony,
Well, I would-
it's not it's not up to our standard is what I heard.
I would say that decision changes based on the agreement of indemnifying the town,
Yeah.
number one.
Right,
Yeah.
Right?
absolutely.
If we don't get that agreement,
It's gotta come.
signing over liability to the property owner,
Mhm.
we gotta do something.
Absolutely.
Right.
I don't disagree with that at all.
So that's number one. Number two is agreement, I would like to have agreement in writing that whenever, whyever the town decides it needs to be reinstalled properly or removed, that the property owner has to do it
I don't have a
or
problem with
agree to pay for whatever costs we incur.
that. I wholeheartedly agree.
So I would just
So-
advise us though, let's say we get this agreement in place. Again, my question is, how long is it gonna take the town to make a decision? Because what you don't wanna do is reward bad behavior. It sets a really bad precedent. So can we get this decision done in a couple of months? And either, I'd like this all addressed before the winter time.
Right, I would
You
too.
know, I don't want that thing
Well, I
sitting
think-
out there as a badge of honor, and giving other people ideas that they can just destroy town property
How,
because
I mean, what
of
kind of
aesthetics.
timeline are you looking
Yeah.
at to figure out where we're
Timeline's
gonna be
important.
with this?
I agree, it has to be soon. This is in Mark's hands?
I just,
And the-
if I
Yeah.
might make a comment, it's, the way that this was done was improper, and I think we all agree that it's gotta go through a certain process, but I wouldn't necessarily characterize it as someone, if it was destroyed, we'd be acting a lot faster.
Mhm.
This was the idea of doing a pilot, we were open to that concept, but it had to go through a certain process. It's the process in which that this was done that's the problem. And it may be that we don't wanna do brick sidewalks in the future. I wouldn't
Well,
say it's,
the only thing I'd say though is,
if it was a pile of rubble,
I
we would
agree with
not,
you.
we
I
wouldn't have
understand
it
that there's a
like that.
distinction, but because it wasn't built, because we do have some standards
Yep.
for brick sidewalks, and because it wasn't done to our standard, by definition, unless we're gonna change our standard, it needs to come out anyway.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yep.
It has to come out anyway. It doesn't meet our standard. So I'm just
As a
trying,
trial horse, it's useless.
Right.
bingo, better way of saying it. So that's my point is, it's gotta come out anyway. How long is it gonna take for us to get through our process? I'd like it done before,
I think,
sooner rather than later.
just to, as I recall, because the implementation of anything sidewalk-wise was kind of put on the back burner while we waited for the culvert to get done. There was no sense getting involved with anything. And I believe that was, you can check with the people on the, okay? So now that we have a timeframe of the culvert, we think we do, and now that we have a reason to act quickly, then we can take a look at it.
You were right.
What
He came
is
up with
our,
this.
what is
Yeah,
our
but
reason
so-
to act
yeah.
quickly, though?
Not that sidewalk though, that was kind of, it's more the stuff that was
He
along
came
Hill
up with
Street,
this
yeah.
6 years ago
Yeah.
in front of the Robardi building.
Okay.
He wanted to put
Mhm.
brick in front of there, and you were right, because the culvert was coming up. He wanted to extend it all the way down to Sawmill Brook, I think. We're pretty close.
At his expense, right?
Right, at his expense, and he was willing to do that, and when.
Because you're on the HTC at the time.
And when the whole Sawmill project was pending, and at that time we said, oh, it'll be done in 2 years, here we are 5 years later. That whole discussion kind of went away, but this has been in his mind for.
There was also the
some time.
lead service line requirements that came out in the last couple of years. And from our perspective, if we had to replace any service lines under sidewalks,
That would not be good for
Right.
us.
you wanna make sure you do that before you change,
I would also suggest that whatever agreement or whatever conditions that we set, if you want to think of that,
Well-
that the owner also be responsible for, if there has to be utility work under those sidewalks, that he absorbs those costs of replacing it. because it's a lot harder to replace brick than it is to just pour some more asphalt.
Well, right now, you've got the 3 points you're trying to make: indemnification, replace that if required, really kind of depending on what happens with Mark and his requirement for the other sidewalks, and some sort of penalty or something. You can't do this to any place else, and frankly, he owns the whole block. So he has a vested interest, one way or the other, say, I want to do this. That's a valid comment. That he's in a position with other.
As an ancillary look, is it time to look at maybe a bylaw?
What, don't
Well,
take up
as far-
sidewalks? I mean,
Well, no, as far as
what is the
anything,
bylaw?
well, we have some other issues on other rights of way, another, where other people are, encroaching. So maybe it's time to take a look at that.
Isn't it already illegal? Like, what is
It
that?
is.
I'm not sure what that would get us over and above
is.
our right to defend our sidewalks
No,
as
it
is.
does, yeah.
Okay,
And again, if you try to come up with like a penalty amount,
you could just pay the penalty and say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's useless, I mean, for some people.
and we deal with it every spring. Because, edges of garden beds, mailboxes, fences, all of these things that are technically in the town right of way are, sometimes get damaged during snow removal over the winter time, and, we technically could say it shouldn't be there in the first place, right? But we try to do the right thing and clean stuff up when, so it's like there's a lot of different nuanced scenarios of encroachment issues that my point is that you have to be careful with the bylaws, even if it was something we wanted to do, how you would.
Chuck has his hand up.
Does Chuck have his hand up?
I see Chuck has his hand up.
Chuck, you are recognized.
Thanks, I guess it's a minor point, I guess, in this discussion, but I just want to also mention, I did talk to the proprietor of the shop at one school, and I think they, they're not looking for us to go rip out the brick to prove a point right now. They were just as surprised as we were that the work took place. So, I think we need to line up all these kind of discussion points and agreements and whatnot, but, I don't also want to create another hardship to try and prove a point.
So you're saying leave it there, is that what I'm hearing?
I'm saying not, it's not on my short list of things to, rectify the brick sidewalk that, is perfectly walkable right now in the summertime. Just to, I think we were talking about just rip it out and put it back, that was my first impulse, but then I talked to the proprietor and, they're a small business, they're not looking to, lose more days because we're, disrupting their frontage,
Well, number one, that's their landlord's fault, that's not our fault.
Understood, but it doesn't change the fact that it's a huge disruption.
I understand, but what's gonna happen this winter if that frost heaves and we gotta do snow removal and brick
Right.
start?
I'm not saying we shouldn't do it by this winter even, I'm just saying that was kind of where I took pause, so I just wanted to add that to the conversation.
Thank you.
Well, that's not necessarily part of the picture of the first pass that Tony is putting together with the legal.
I hope we can close the discussion. My point is, I don't want to be talking about this 2 years from now.
No.
I want to know what we're going to do soon and then execute the plan.
Tony,
And it
you've
shouldn't
got,
take them
yeah,
2 years to figure out what kind of brick we want and whether or not we want brick.
we should have that done by the end of the year.
Please, let's just make
Yeah,
a
but you
decision.
can't fix it at the end of the year.
I'm looking for a decision. Do we want brick or not?
But I
But
think,
whether we want brick or not, doesn't matter, we have to
But it's got to come
handle
out
this
anyway.
situation
It
right
does have to
here.
come out anyway. Yes.
Okay. So you'll put together a letter and share it with us?
Yep.
Within the week, I guess, or something?
Yeah, legal's drafting it.
Okay.
We had a long discussion, I was hoping to talk with the property owner, last week, but
And fit together?
we're drowning in trash discussions.
Understood.
Maybe just put trash barrels on top of the brick and all of
Okay.
those.
There you go.
All right. All right, let's move on to 6D, Powder House roles and responsibilities. And we haven't,
Yes, so
covenants?
When we signed the agreement, it was discussed about, well, who's gonna be responsible for the town's responsibilities as part of that agreement, and asked that I come up with, what that looks like. There was some delay when we signed that agreement, and Sarah Melish had talked to the CDC, and we sent them a copy of the signed agreement. They needed the original. They came and got the original agreement just a couple weeks back. Mark is reaching out to the CDC to understand where and when the marketing format of changing over properties occurs and where we are in that status. But according to the agreement, setting rents is usually determined right after April, when the CDC puts out the AMI data. So once that data comes out, the landlord or the property owner basically proposes what the rent fees are gonna be, and then the select board has 30 days to approve or deny that. So the idea would be sometime in April or May is when this annual process would occur. However, they may not have a vacancy between now and then, in which case they don't have to set, so maybe this upcoming April or May will be the first time we go through this process, maybe not. It depends on whether they have affordable rents to actually approve rates for based on the AMI at that time. They may not have had any changeover in their.
So they have to wait for a vacancy
Yeah.
before setting the rent for the year?
Well, no,
That
they,
sounds odd.
For the unit.
the affordable units rent is what they're
Right.
setting.
Right?
So they can set, they
They
could
just-
set
They
the
could
rent,
just publish.
although nothing may be available.
Right. I mean, I would think it's best, just operationally, to get in the habit, setting the, rates, or at least confirming what's there every year on an annual basis. That way you don't forget, somebody doesn't
Yeah.
forget. And also, should there be an unforeseen vacancy, you have an opportunity to get a different rent.
Okay. I don't see what the difference is between having a review of it every May and reviewing it every year.
I got the impression we were talking about not reviewing it at all if there were no vacancies, and I just didn't think that made sense.
Well, it's.
I could have misunderstood, maybe I misunderstood.
The process starts with them proposing rents. And, so we'll tell them we want them to propose rents for this upcoming year, and it be on an annual basis every April or May. But at the end of the day, it starts with them proposing the rents.
They propose a rent, and then you go to the lottery and see if somebody gets pulled out for that?
It's two separate
I
two separate things. As far as that agreement, the responsibility of the town is to review and approve,
okay,
and that's all we're
and, yeah, but
responsible for as part of
that
that
space
agreement.
eventually gets filled by somebody. Right now, there is nobody that has gone through that
I-
process.
I don't know. That's what Mark's reaching out to the CDC.
We have to get 8
understand.
people in there before we can get that whole business, that whole building on SHI, right? Because that's
No, I
25%.
think as they get filled, yeah.
That's correct. Well, one gets filled, and then you've got one, and then another one gets filled
As soon as
too.
the 8 get in
As
the
soon as
hole,
8, now you got 29.
Right.
Okay, I understand how that works.
Yep.
But we got 0 right now.
I
But
don't know.
all
I
the-
don't know
all
if
these-
anyone has been turned over yet.
All these units are not the same.
No.
So the prices are gonna be different.
Right. Yeah.
So
there's-
they would have to set prices for whatever, 1 bedroom, this, that. They're gonna have to have that whole
Yeah,
price
landlord
list
does that anyway.
for us to approve.
No, I think
Done with it.
I think the proper person to manage this is Mark. It makes sense. I think it'd be nice if somebody from the Affordable Housing Trust was involved as well, but I don't want to put that responsibility on. I don't think putting that responsibility solely on a volunteer isn't a good way for us to do it, so I think
Right.
I've talked with Mark Resnick about the planner
Okay,
being.
but it seems we should know yearly what's going on each year at each point.
Yes.
Sarah, you're recognized?
Yes, it's my understanding the way this works in practice is the state comes out with the allowable rents for the various 80% of AMI, 60% of AMI, et cetera. And these entities automatically adjust their rates to the new state standards.
That makes sense.
And it's done like clockwork.
That makes sense.
So they do it in May.
Yep.
And then, and if the select board does not approve the rates within 30 days, they automatically go into effect.
Ah, okay.
So it's not really like the town is doing anything.
Got it. So
Yeah.
we're a rubber stamp, or if it's it's our opportunity to object on what
Kind of a
grounds, I have
courtesy.
no idea.
Kind of a courtesy.
Got it. Okay,
Right,
thank you.
and they have had a lot of turnover.
Oh, really?
Who has?
Powder House.
It's very likely that they'll get to that number very quickly.
Oh,
But as of today, the EOHLC has not yet signed off on that regulatory agreement because North Shore CDC had not submitted it to EOHLC.
all right.
So we signed it, North Shore CDC has to sign it, and then EOHLC signs it, and then they can go into the lottery process.
And who's riding herd on that?
I know.
North Shore CDC, they contacted me, and because they wanted to come before the Affordable Housing Trust, and I said, well, I don't have a copy of the final executed agreement. And then he comes back to me and says, oh, they say they need the original. And I had sent them, I had sent North Shore CDC a copy back right after you guys signed it, in March, I think. So they just haven't followed through.
So,
And
okay.
and it's my understanding they have some interest in adding more units there.
So is Mark, to answer John's question, is Mark riding herd on
Yeah,
this to make
who
sure
is
someone's got
checking with them like every week? Did you sign it? You sign it, where we stand here? What's
Well, the reason the Affordable Housing Trust stepped in is because it wasn't happening.
Thank you.
And that's wonderful. Again, I'm not sure we've answered the question. Is it still the Affordable Housing Trust that's riding herd on it, or is Mark
Mark?
doing it?
Well, I talked to Mark today and he was gonna reach out to North Shore CDC, but
Okay.
Sarah's already had a lot of conversations with them, so wanna make sure that, if it's switching to Mark, that they're aware of that and keep progress moving forward and it doesn't come off as some sort of like unnecessary duplicative effort.
Yeah, Sarah, are you checking in with them as a matter of course, like every week, like where are we?
I was gonna follow up with him.
I think that's probably the wise thing to do because you're already in there. Once that goes, things can kind of get handed over, but I wouldn't go change horses in the middle of the stream right now. Your name is known. Is that good? I think.
Well, and the problem they've had is they advertised the units and they weren't receiving applications from Manchester residents. So they reached out to the Affordable Housing Trust and said, can you help us?
I don't know how that pecking order works. I thought
At which point I said, so where's the copy of the agreement?
Okay,
So maybe we can just get an update on this in, next month or something?
yeah,
Can we just put it on the action list to see who's
That's a
talked
good
to
idea.
whom and what the status is, so we don't forget
I'll
about
give the
it?
guy a call tomorrow.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll revisit in a month. Let's see, liaison updates. We shall continue. Jeff, where are we?
I don't have anything for you this week.
It is a holiday stretch here.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian?
I'm not much, my Parks and Rec, everyone was quite visible.
Yeah, they were,
I think that they did yeoman's work. And again, to just, part of that, to jump on what you said earlier, is what you talked about the heat, you talked about the holidays, you forgot to mention Free Ride Friday.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
overtaxed from everything I'm told. And it was, from what I understand, is that there were close to 300 kids that came off the train at like 9:15, drunk kids coming off the train. So after they were turned away at the beach, there were people that, this goes back to something about the harbor master's office as well, is that Bravo, it was like, according to the people who had just closed up and locked up, it was like a zombie apocalypse with people trying to get in. So, and again, looking for bathrooms. But as far as I think that Parks and Rec did a great job as well, everyone else did. So I've got nothing else beyond that.
Yeah, my son called it the running of the teen, the running of the bulls and so it's the running of the teenagers.
Oh, and they were running.
Oh, yeah, they were.
Yeah.
They were there, I was there, yeah.
And the beauty here, getting back to it, just to touch base and stray out of lane again, is for the most part, everything that we know, the rest of the population doesn't know. So it went well. As far as the general population of the town of Manchester is concerned, it went, because they didn't hear anything, it's because it went so well.
yes.
And the things that didn't go well, they didn't know about.
No, it's still a sign of it going well, that's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, okay. Good. Anything else?
no,
Ann, what's happening?
The schools, had one meeting since our last meeting, and they are going on holiday schedule, which I think means one meeting a month, or maybe only one meeting in August. They're wrapping up their year, I think everybody here is familiar with that, and trying to figure out budgets that were overspent, budgets that were underspent. They think they're going to end up with a reasonable excess, not the 600,000 that they have had once in a while in the past, but a substantial excess in their excess and deficiencies, which they will carry over into the next year's budget. I've been seeing the Board of Health from time to time, and the Board of Health working with the Gloucester in their joint.
Oh, yeah, that initiative.
The joint, yes, and the first year of the 2-year thing is over, and they still haven't quite figured out how to take the scanned documents and fit them. It'll be done next week, they say. The second year is supposed to be Human Services, and Human Services in Manchester and Human Services in Gloucester are somewhat different, and trying to figure out what services are appropriate for Manchester and how they can be provided, how they can be accelerated with this grant. I think they're settling in on isolated seniors, and probably should work with Council on Aging
Yeah.
and find ways of expediting the efforts of the Council on Aging.
Okay. From my perspective, Council on Aging now has a sign up in front of the Masonic building that the senior community center is coming, slash Mason's building, the new building is coming, with a picture of the building.
Yeah,
So that went up last Thursday, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. Looks really good.
Yeah,
Have any of you, did you notice it?
yeah, I looked at it, it looks good, yeah.
We wanted to pressure to get that up before July 4th, because there'd be a lot of people walking around, so people become aware of that. I can't say anything started with the money raising activities yet. I haven't spoken with Susan Beckman in the last 2 weeks on that, but it should be kicking off. like now, with the expressions of interest, written expressions of interest. Department of Public Works, Chuck is on the call, maybe not now, I don't know, but she says Tappan Street is out to bid, the water project there, which was what, 6 million? 4 million? 4 million? 4 million. That's out to bid, and the end of the month, the bids for both the culvert here, Sawmill, as well as Atwater. The culvert there, those will go out, and both of them are anticipated to start sometime in the fall, so that's good news. The Historic District Commission meets this Thursday, so there's no information on that, and the library is pretty quiet, nothing special going on there right now.
It's supposed to be quiet.
Business as usual, right? Right. Consent agenda.
Anyone have any problems?
Anybody, questions or issues on the dump truck or
What about
the minutes of the softball?
I don't want anything more with wheels on.
We all set?
We are set.
I move the board approve the consent agenda items.
Second,
All right. Jeff,
yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes,
John? Yes. Tony, Administrator report.
So trash obviously is a big item and will continue to be over the coming months. We're still in contract negotiations with our unions. We've had my computer just went. We've had a number of public events, obviously the 4th of July, as you mentioned, and as you talked about at the beginning, I mean, the collaboration amongst Parks and Rec, police, fire, harbor, DPW was incredible, and there's a lot to do with the planning for that that you mentioned that people don't know or may not be aware of. Utilizing NEMLEC and bringing in other outside departments to help with public safety, it was really seamless, so they did a great job with that. I attended the fireworks show with my family and the parade, and we were very, very happy. It was
I think you got a flag.
I got a flag. I got a flag at the parade. The fireworks show was
it was
amazing.
really nice, yeah.
It was amazing.
It's asking about Barrington Hall.
We had the fire department had a end of school year ice cream giveaway that was well attended and went really well. We've been meeting as the trustees of the Masons. Been meeting on a regular every other week schedule, and the sign that you mentioned at the property was our first official vote as trustee members.
Great.
Because it's
I think
common
you do it
space,
easy.
common
That's an easy
space
topic.
change.
That's word.
We're tying out.
Let's see, I'm looking at my calendar here. Oh, tomorrow, we have Division of Local Services, DOR, coming in for round 1 of the financial management report review. They'll be here tomorrow and then again on the 15th.
I knew the 15th, I didn't know tomorrow.
And we have a joint meeting Wednesday night with the Finance Committee and the Select Board to go over end of year transfers. Hopefully, all you guys can make it, or at least a quorum, and if not, we can schedule, as long as the Select Board votes prior to the 15th, we can always schedule another.
Are we good for Wednesday?
I'm tentative, I'm not sure yet. 7 o'clock, I think you said.
I can do virtual, I cannot be in the room.
Okay, all right, that's
Likely, I might be able to
I will be here.
And I will.
Well, how long is it gonna take?
You gonna be here, Ann?
Yeah.
Shouldn't
I
take
said
long.
that shouldn't be.
I might be able to do virtual then.
It's the first thing on the agenda, and then they have more items, but you don't have to stick around for
I
the
might
rest.
be able to do virtual.
So what time will be the first?
7 o'clock.
7.
No, we'll be the first on their agenda then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be,
Yeah,
as long as
I
I'm
should
done by
be-
7:30.
Yeah, I should.
hopefully
Oh,
it goes that
okay.
quick. And then today we had a great event out on the front steps, saying goodbye to Todd on his last day and swearing in now Chief Mark McCoy. Well attended, thank you all for coming, and I thought that went really well as well.
It did. Really nice event. Despite the little bumper problem.
The question is that a wake-up call? I mean, maybe he shouldn't have been driving anyway. I don't know, I think the guest somewhere around 90 years old, the guy that hit him.
Oh. Okay.
He's an elderly driver.
Okay.
And then we
Wasn't great.
should be posting the position of assistant assessor / GIS coordinator internally this week as well. And then we are working with the finance team on getting the finance clerk position posted this month. We always wanted it to line up that a start date of a new employee in that department didn't come in June or July because of the end and start of a new fiscal year would have been too much to do. So our hope is to get that posted this month and hopefully hired next month.
Okay. Good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the,
Do we have something you need us to sign?
Yes.
you got something signed?
I move to adjourn.
Okay, we can work the signing after adjournment. I just work through it. A motion to adjourn, do we have one?
I move to adjourn.
Second? All in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you
Good-
for your
good to meet you.
patience.
Yep.
Thank you.